Hello and welcome back for another episode of That One Time on Tour. The first 3 episodes have been awesome. Thank you guys very much for listening. Like I said last time, we've had a lot of international listeners, which I'm very excited about. So shout out to my listeners in France, Italy, Japan, and South Africa. To my buddies in South Africa, I say lekker by a donkey. If you're from South Africa, you know what I'm saying. So yes, this is episode 4, and I could not be more excited about my guest this week. My guest is none other than Dan Mr. Precision Wleklinski from 88 Fingers Louie and Rise Against. 88 Fingers Louie is one of my top probably 5 favorite bands of all time. I have an 88 Fingers Louie tattoo. I met Dan back at Warped Tour in 1999, and I gave him a demo of my then band Chronic Chaos and conned him into recording 2 full-length albums for us at his studio. Yeah, this one was a treat for me because it's kind of crazy that you meet someone that's in one of your favorite bands. You get to be friends with them, and I've known Dan now for, that's crazy, 19 years almost. That's insane. So check this out. This is episode 4 of That One Time on Tour. I really think you're going to enjoy this one. And plus, Dan is such a great guy. He owns a recording studio, like I mentioned, so even though we did the interview over the phone, he recorded himself and then sent me the WAV file. So this is the best sounding episode that I've done yet. So any of my future guests, if you're listening out there, if you have access to recording yourself, we should try to do it because I can line it up and it sounds great. So without any further ado, here it is, episode 4 of That One Time on Tour, my conversation with Dan, Mr. Precision Wleklinski of 88 Fingers Louie and Rise Against. Hey, Dan, what's going on, man?
How's it going, Chris?
It's going great. I feel like it's been a really long time, man.
It has been.
Well, I just want you to know I'm honored to have you on episode 4 of That One Time on Tour. We don't just talk about tour, we talk about everything. But
That's cool.
You are in and founded one of my favorite bands of all time. I even have an 88 Fingers Louie tattoo.
I know, I remember that. Well, thanks, Chris.
Well, you guys kind of changed my whole outlook. Like, you guys are from Chicago. I'm from down here around Indianapolis. And when I heard your band, it kind of opened the door to the whole punk rock thing. Like, I was already into like some NoFX and some Fat Wreck Chords stuff, but when I heard you guys, I got excited because I'm a metal guy and I'm a hardcore guy, and I hadn't heard a band that put it together like you guys did.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I don't even know if we were trying to do that. I think it was just our different influences coming together, and that's kind of what happened, you know?
Yeah, because like I said, I've been in punk bands my whole life, but I always had that metal thing that I loved. And when I just remember when I saw, for one thing, your long hair in the picture on the CD was cool. Like, oh, there's a metal guy in the band. And then I heard some of your riffs and I heard some of the solos, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. And you guys kind of changed me away from, I love skate punk, I love the whole thing, but when I heard 88 Fingers Louie, it was life-changing, man. So thank you so much for that.
Hey, thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
And then getting to, later on, I saw you guys for the first time in 1998, I believe, over in Muncie, Indiana, at Stevie Ray's House of Wax on the campus of Ball State, and you blew my mind again. And it was crazy to me that you guys actually came to the town I was living in at the time, and I got to see you for like $10 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. That wasn't the place where we played. There's one place where we played like on a wrestling ring, or I might be thinking of a different show.
Okay, you're thinking of something a little bit further into the podcast.
Okay, I'll wait.
Because I booked that show, and my band actually played with you guys. That was a different band altogether.
I think I remember now. Yeah. Okay. I'll hold off. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of the game here.
Well, for some of my friends that might be listening from the Muncie area, but Stevie Ray's was a CD, like a punk rock CD shop at in the village of the campus of Ball State University that was kind of way up these stairs. Now there's like a Jimmy John's there, but it's like it was up in this kind of like loft thing, and you had to load everything up these stairs. So you might not remember. I don't know.
Yeah, those are the things I try to forget is loading.
Man, I tell you, that was a great place to have growing up, though. I saw at the drive-in over there.
That's awesome.
I saw like crazy bands over there, including you guys.
Wow. Well, that's cool. Yeah, Muncie, I didn't think, Muncie would have that much of a scene, but I guess in the 90s it did.
They didn't really, I wouldn't say they had like quote unquote scene, but like certain like kind of mid-level bands when they were starting out touring would come through Muncie, I guess because of the college.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first time I saw you guys.
Cool.
And I will tell you that is the first and only time I saw you guys, because the next time I was going to see you, my band Chronic Chaos was on tour and we were driving to play our show at the 513 Club in Atlanta. We drove a day early and you guys were supposed to be there with AFI and you did not show up.
That's right. We broke up on that tour.
We were so excited because we're like, okay, we're all off work. We don't have to be at the 513 Club until like Thursday or whatever. AFI, Fury 66, and 88 Fingers Louie is playing the day before. We'll just drive down early. And we got there and we walked in and we found out you guys broke up.
Oh man, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay, man. We were just, I was kind of bummed out because I was excited that we were playing the next day and I felt like we were actually getting somewhere because my favorite band was playing the same venue the day before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so can you speak a little bit about that? I mean, I know you guys, let's go back a little bit. Behind Bars was the first full length, correct?
Yeah, that was the first full length we put out on Hopeless Records.
Okay, so Behind Bars comes out. Did you guys do a lot of touring, a lot of promo? I know that there was like a breakup after that.
Yeah, well, we did some touring on that. I'm trying to remember. I think we played like California and Las Vegas during that time. It kind of gets jumbled in my head for all the times I've been out. But then we did, we were doing, I think, a full tour with AFI. That was the time where we broke up, and I think we only got through like 7 or 8 days of that tour. But before that, we would go up to Eastern Canada, and we did, I think we did Snow Jam that year. That would have been 96 actually. But yeah, so we did a bunch of touring here and there, went down to Florida and whatnot. That was earlier on actually. But yeah, and then basically that tour is when it all started kind of falling apart. Mostly due to, because Dennis had just had a kid and he just got married, and so it was kind of like it was very touch and go at that point. And at the last, I mean, he already had decided that he didn't want to go like the day before tour. And we're like, are you kidding me? We have to do this. You can't just bail out the day before a tour. And then he was like, okay, screw it. I'm going. I'm going to make it happen. And we did make it happen for as long as we could. And then that was it. That wasn't, you know what though? That wasn't the AFI tour. That was Good Riddance. I kind of messed those two up.
Because
we were supposed to be
AFI
out with
was
Good Riddance
later on, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
from my knowledge of the universe of 88 Fingers Louie.
Absolutely. Now I'm remembering. We were actually on tour with Good Riddance at that time when we broke up, and that was in 96.
Okay.
So that was we were still touring on Behind Bars at that point.
Okay, so you break up, you're touring on Behind Bars, you break up about 96. When was the next time you guys kind of got back together or realized, hey, we want to do another record, or we want to, bury the hatchet and do whatever we need to do?
Well, so I believe it was June or July of 96 is when it ended. And then in February of 98, so like a year, a little over a year and a half, not even a full 2 years, we, I guess Dennis and Joe started talking again and talked to me. And I at that point, I was like, sure, let's go. Let's try it again. And that's when we got together and we started writing, and that's how Back on the Streets kind of came together.
And you guys recorded Back on the Streets at Sonic Iguana with Mass, correct? Over in Lafayette?
We did, and actually Behind Bars as well was recorded there with Mass.
So do you still do any work over at Sonic Iguana? I know that you used to engineer a little bit over there and produce.
Yeah, once in a great while, depending. Like the last band I worked on there is called the Mound Builders, and they're actually from Lafayette. And really good, like kind of doomy sludge band, like metal band, and I really like those guys. But yeah, that was the last time I actually worked at that studio. So it's been a couple of years. But yeah, once in a while I'll head out there, and it's great to see Mass when I can.
Well, that's great. I've hit Mass up to see if he'll be a guest, so fingers crossed.
I hope so. That'd be cool.
So you guys get back together. I was so excited when I heard that you guys were back together, and when I went out the day that it came out and got Back on the Streets, and it's got that sample from the Blues Brothers. We're getting the band back together.
Yep.
And I mean, as a fan of yours, and I mean, I'm not going to keep harping on this, but you guys were a big deal for me. I heard that sample and I'm like, oh man, it's like chills because you guys are, and the record was so great. Like the record didn't stop. It had all of the pop sensibilities that I loved from you guys, all of the hardcore. I mean, you guys even covered like Gorilla Biscuits on there.
Not on that one. Actually, we covered Bad
Oh,
Brains
Bad
on
Brains.
that.
Yeah, you did Bad
FBK.
Brains. Okay, yeah.
That's such a hard cover because that band was so awesome and still, well, I don't know if they still are, but they were awesome.
They're still pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's so hard to get HR's voice down, and we did the best we could, you know.
Well, I just remember that record. I mean, 100 Proof kind of put everything together for me. That song, which, I mean, that's probably my favorite song. I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite for me because I love everything, but that song, it had the melody, it had the heaviness, it had the intricacy of like the bass line that Joe was playing. It was great. I mean, I'm sure you've heard that a lot. That song is very popular.
Yeah, hey, it's we still play to this day. So
that's a great song, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so Back on the Streets comes out. You guys are back on Hopeless Records.
Yep.
Does it come out to like fanfare? Does it do fairly well when it first comes out? I mean,
yeah, actually, it did really well when it first came out. Like we were really moving forward at that time. That was the time where I was like, holy cow, this is the first time I'm seeing like a lot of forward movement and people really getting into it. And it was exciting to say the least. And we shortly followed it up with that split with Kid Dynamite. I don't know if you were getting to that yet.
Dude, Kid Dynamite split, that thing is untouchable. In my mind, that thing is untouchable. Even like the Kid Dynamite songs next to the 88 songs, that's probably one of my top 5 records that I own.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. That was so we came out with that in 99 and again, just because Back on the Streets was doing well, we had more songs that we wanted to do and it was just a really big flow. We had gone to we went to Europe in 99 to tour. Actually, we did it in 96 as well, but that was a little different. 99 was with Good Riddance, so it was like the only time we were on a tour bus and really making things happen. Doing a lot of touring in the US and Canada. So that was a really growing period at that time.
So was there like a lot of talk at Hopeless where like you guys were kind of, 88's the flagship, like they're the band, right?
I think we were like at that point we were the big fish. Yeah, I would say so. I'm trying to remember who else was on the label at that time. I mean, again, and obviously it didn't last too long because in '99 everything fell apart again. But that's we were moving at that point.
Well, can you kind of take me back to then? You guys are driving, to that tour where I was actually driving to watch you guys before my tour started. And you guys don't make it there. The band at that point is probably at the height that it's ever been, like in popularity. What led it down that road? Was it just personalities within the band? I mean,
I think so. I mean, I can bring it down. We didn't even make one show on that tour. We were actually driving out to, I forgot where the first show was, maybe like Seattle. But we were in, I believe it was Rock Springs, Wyoming, and in the middle of the day, and we'd already been driving like, I don't know, 20 hours or whatever it was. And we stopped to, get some food. And there was already like a disparity between personalities. We were going to eat at like, let's say a Perkins, and Dennis is like, I'm going to go across the street and eat at Denny's or whatever it was. And we're like, what the hell? Like just, and we're like, just come and eat with us. Why would you go there? It was kind of weird. So we all sat down, we were eating, and again, as we were eating, it just started getting like heated. I'm trying to remember exact details, but it came down to like Dennis basically saying, I really don't want to do, I'm not in the mindset to do this band right now, but I'm going to finish off this tour. It's like, we promised to do this, so we're going to do this. And Joe was the one that was like, you know what? I don't want to be on a stage with somebody who doesn't want to be doing this. And then the whole thing just kind of blew up. And, we tried talking it through. I remember trying to be the moderator, and that didn't really work out. Then I remember being outside on a payphone calling Hopeless Records, telling him that we broke up again. And he's just like, Louis, the owner, was like, no way, you cannot do this. I'm like, it's happening. We've tried. This is just not working out.
I'm sure he was having a heart attack because
oh yeah, he had put in so much money already into our Back on the Streets recording, our tour with Good Riddance, and then the recording of the split with Kid Dynamite. Like he definitely put in a lot of money, so I get where he would be coming from.
And at that point, you
Um,
guys were doing fairly well for the label, so
yeah, exactly.
that's a
And
scary thing.
there was a couple fists that flew. I remember that while I was on the phone. But yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Well, so you guys broke up. What happened like in the near future right after that? Because I know that, well, I'll tell you from my side of it. That's right around probably a year or two later when my band Chronic Chaos actually came to record our first full length with you in Chicago at the bomb shelter.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you had been 88 had been broke up for a couple years, but you had other irons in the fire. What was going on after that?
Well, in '99 is when I actually started the bomb shelter, and so that was kind of happening. And at the same time, Joe and I from '88, we were just like, you know what? Unlike last time where we didn't want to find another singer, we actually so in between the two breakups of '96 and '98, Joe and I actually formed a little band. Oh my God, I can't remember what Nice Guys Finish Last. That's what it was called.
I
And we
remember.
only
I
did
remember seeing like that name on the internet.
yeah, we only did like we did like a demo of like, I don't remember, 10, 12 songs. I gotta find that. That's somewhere.
If you
But
find it,
whatever.
please send it to me.
So anyway, so after the second breakup, Joe and I were like, you know what? We've been jamming together for so long, and 88's got a name for itself. Let's look for a new singer. Instead of breaking up 88, we're actually gonna look for a new singer. And during that time, like we literally, I think we tried out 12 or 13 singers, and it was so harrowing. There was so many people that just sucked.
Yeah.
It was sad. Where we're like, you can't even sing. And I remember, I feel bad because I'm not going to say this person's name. I don't even remember their last name. But there was one guy who tried out, and I talked to him on the phone, and he was the most on the phone. I was like, I have such high hopes for this guy. He seems intelligent. He seems to know his voice. Like he was describing things, like how his voice sounded. And I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. And I don't know if he was nervous, but he came to the tryout and he's like, do you mind if I read off the lyric sheet, the lyric book? I'm like, no, whatever, man. You still got to learn the lyrics, but that's fine. Dude, he started singing. He was terrible. He was just way fast and everything. So, needless to say, Joe and I started like losing interest in just doing 88, and then we're just like, maybe we need to do a different band. And so we were looking for singers for another band. We were telling ourselves we'd find a drummer later, and that's when we actually went to Indianapolis to see, I believe it was Sick of It All and Good Riddance play at the Emerson. And so me and Joe were there, and Tim McElrath was there, and I didn't know who Tim was, but Joe knew him from a band called Baxter, and was just basically like, "Hey, there's this dude Tim here. He's like a really good singer. Maybe we could try him out for the band. Start a new band or whatever." And we did. We went and talked with him, and that was pretty much the beginnings of Rise Against at that point.
Yeah, I had listened. I was actually a fan, I think, prior to that of Tim's stuff. I liked the Baxter stuff, and I really liked the Killing Tree.
Killing Tree. I forgot when that was happening. If that was before Rise Against, I know it was during.
I
but
think it was
they may have
somewhere
started before.
somewhere around there. I just remember like hearing something like, early days of the internet. Like I used to go to like a Chicago like hardcore forum or something just to find out about bands.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, totally.
But yeah, so continue. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. So you guys
No,
started Rise Against and immediately started recording stuff, or like what was the process?
We did. So since I had the studio, and at that time it was hilarious because I didn't even have enough mics, I don't think, at that time to record a full drum set, but I did have electronic drums. So we ended up demoing like Rise Against songs on electronic drums.
I think those
And,
were the first demos that you played for me when we were up there at the studio, because I remember you were very kind of, oh, these are electronic drums. Don't take it.
Yeah.
Like, don't listen to those. Just listen to the rest of it.
Listen to the songs, exactly. Yeah, not the production quality. But anyways, we ended up sending that out to Fat Mike from Fat Records, and he dug on it. He was like, "Oh, this is good," and we didn't have a name at that point. But what was funny is Warped Tour was happening. I think that must have been '99. Maybe it was a little earlier. Maybe it was nine. Yeah, it had to have been '99. We went to Detroit Warped Tour to meet up with Mike. He's like, "Hey, I want you guys to come out. I want to meet with you guys and chat with you." And so two things happened that were hilarious. Well, one was we were trying to come up with names in the car on the car ride up. And again, at this point, it was just me, Joe, and Tim were riding up there. And Tim had actually come up with the name 0 to 60. And we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. We all liked it. And when we told Fat Mike about the name, because Fat Mike's like, hey, I'm interested in signing you guys. I want to do something. And he's like, do you guys have a name? And we told him 0 to 60. He's like, nah, he goes, you got to pick something different, because he's like, I've already got a band called Zero Down, and I don't want to have two bands with the word zero in there.
Yeah.
Like, all right. So needless to say, a little later on, I came up with Rise Against, and we went with that. But the funny thing is he was hanging out. Now, we were friends with Good Riddance. So on this Warped Tour, he had the demos with him. This was before we met up with him in Detroit. And he had played these tunes to Good Riddance and said, hey, there's a new band I'm thinking about signing. What do you guys think of this? I'm going to play it for you. And, didn't tell him who we were or anything. And they totally knew it was us, because they heard the demos. We had sent it to them because we were looking for a drummer, and they were looking for a drummer. And that's how we got actually Brandon. Because that was their second choice after Dave Wagon shoots, when they were finding somebody. Anyways, I know I'm going off on a tangent.
No,
here.
Tangents are great, man. We've got tons of time.
So Mike played the songs for them, and Russ and Chuck were in their heads, they're like, oh my God, this is Joe and Dan's band. And they're like, oh yeah, these guys are great. You should totally sign them. I know they like the music. I'm not saying they didn't, but it was still, I think that was a very helpful thing. And
you got the stamp of approval from Good Riddance, right?
Yeah. And so I think that made it happen for us,
Well, that's great. So what was the process after that? I mean, I know Fat is kind of like a handshake kind of label, right?
Yeah, it was kind of weird, because they were like, dude, just go in and record. And we're like, okay. And we were talking to Mike, we're like, what's our budget? And he's like, just whatever, just go and make a good record. And we're like, okay. So we went in to Sonic Iguana, and we spent the equivalent of 6 weeks in there. Now, in reality, it was 5 weeks, but the reason I always call it 6 is because the last week we literally ran the studio 24 hours a day. We had so much to catch up on. And remember, this was digital ADAT, but this was before any visual waveforms that you could see on a computer monitor. So when you played it wrong, you played it again. And if it wasn't tight enough for mass, you played it again. And so there was we already had that experience with when we did Back on the Streets for 88 Fingers Louie, because that took 5 weeks to record. But this one was really, like I said, insane. Last week, 9 a.m., we'd start recording bass tracks. By 3, we started doing vocals. And at that time, I was assisting as an engineer from vocals from 3 to about 11. And then at midnight, Philip Hill from the Teen Idols was engineering me while I played guitar from midnight to about 8 a.m.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden it would start again. So bass would start at 9 a.m. I'd go sleep in the guitar booth with the foam and with earplugs and try to fall asleep while the bass was booming, 2 rooms over. And that was a whole week of that. So it was pretty brutal. But anyway, so what we did was we recorded the whole thing, and we finally get a total tally on how much it's costing us. And really, when you think about it, compared to other bands, it really wasn't that much, but it was the most we had spent. And it was $35,000. So I remember calling up and talking to the label manager. I think it was Mark. I think that was his name. And he's like, oh yeah, so everything's done. I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, what's the total? And I'm like, 35,000. And he I thought he was going to shit his pants, because he literally was like, what? He's like, who approved this budget? And I'm like, Mike just told us to go ahead and record and don't worry about the budget, And I know there were other bands spending $50K and more at that time. So he was kind of taken aback, but they made it happen. They paid, and we put out the record.
So that record, I remember the one thing you're talking about, the wrestling ring. So now we can get into that.
Okay, yeah. Oh, and the record was called The Unraveling.
The Unraveling.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's got an alien on the cover. It's really, really good.
It's weird, yeah.
I've still got a hoodie, the Unraveling hoodie that I got off of you, and I still wear it all the time. And people have no idea what it is. They go, "Is that really a Rise Against hoodie?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's the first Rise Against hoodie."
Does it have the album cover on it?
It's got the album cover alien on the front. It's not a zippy. It's just an actual hoodie.
The hoodie, yeah, pull over, yeah. Okay, God.
I wear it all the time, and people are like, "I love Rise Against. Is that really one of their shirts?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's the first one."
First one, yeah, that's awesome.
But so I used to help run this place in Marion, Indiana called the Rain Tree Theater. And it's an
Yep.
old movie theater, and they also had this guy that ran it that did wrestling, like,
I
amateur
remember
wrestling.
this. Yeah.
And you guys were kind of on this little run for releasing the record. You'd done, I think, something in some other state, but Chronic Chaos, my band, was putting out a record that you had produced,
Yep.
and we were having a release show, and we asked you guys to come play. I remember Mass came with you guys, like it was the whole entourage.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was there.
Yeah, Mass was there selling merch or whatever, just hanging out. And
It's awesome.
we all played on the wrestling ring, and like the amps were falling over, and it was a nightmare.
It was weird. Yeah, because it was like almost like how huge concerts will do the concert in the round where they're in the center and the crowd's all around them. But
Yeah.
obviously they're not on a trampoline style wrestling rink.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that was crazy.
I remember there was an interview somewhere where Tim, I think Alternative Press, talked about the worst show he ever played in Rise Against, and that was the show.
That was it, really?
Yeah, and then when I went to see them in Orlando one time, I was on tour with another band, and they were playing down the street, and I walked in and I saw Tim, and I'm like, worst show ever, huh, man? And he was like, oh, I didn't mean that,
Yeah, of course. That's funny.
So Rise Against is going strong. If you don't want to get into so much of it, you don't have to. But like, what led you to kind of leave? I guess is my question.
Well, I've done another podcast on this where I like spilled the beans because I was drunk. But anyways, long story short was the fact that they wanted me to make a lot of changes. To my appearance with my hair and the clothes I wore, and they also felt that I was like taking control of the band, which I could kind of see because me and Joe came from 88 where we handled like all the monetary stuff and the business side of things. So we kind of continued doing that in Rise Against, and I was even more so with my hands in there. And I remember telling them, I'm like, look, if you want me to be less hands-on and you guys want to take care of stuff, I'm all for that. That I can handle. But I'm like, if you want me to cut my hair and change the way I look, you know what? Sorry, I'm not going to be part of that. And then we went back and forth, and I still actually played another show with them. And they were, it was a really weird like week. And then that was it. It was done. So
I mean, are you guys cool now? I mean, I know there was probably some bad blood there for a while.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, when I see them, I'm civil with them and whatever. And I don't, I really don't hold them any ill will. They did what they did and whatever. But it's still it's not like we're good friends. It sucks because me and Joe were like the closest of friends for 9 years. During 88 and all that. So obviously it'll never be like that again. But it was we're civil. I could say that.
Okay, so we'll stop talking about the Rise Against stuff.
It's all good. I don't care. I really don't.
No, but I really am excited about the new stuff. So you guys put out the live DVD CD back in, was that 2012 or 13?
No, it's actually 2009.
2009, okay.
So we decided, I forgot how this came about even, if it was Dennis or whatever, bringing up, he's like, man, do you realize we broke up in 99 and it's 2009 now. It's been 10 years since we were a band. He's like, would you want to do like just one show, like a reunion thing, And I'm like, yeah, what the hell? Why not? And I'm like, I've got the studio. I've got a mobile. I've been running the studio for 10 years now. I'm like, I've got a mobile rig where I record live bands, or bands in the live format once in a while. I'm like, I could bring that. I'm like, I've got some friends that we could pay to videotape it or whatever. That might be cool. So we did all this we started planning it, and literally I couldn't believe, like, we played the Bottom Lounge. It's 700 capacity club, and I forgot if it sold out right away, but it sold a ton of tickets like really quickly. And there were people there from, like, there was a dude from New Zealand,
Wow,
Australia, and a bunch of other people that just from all over the place that came to see us. So it was really, really cool. And I think that was the first like bump into Dennis and I going, and John for that matter, just being like, holy cow, people still like us,
Yeah.
So at that point, I tried like convincing them into writing some music because I had tons of music ready to go. I shouldn't say tons, but I had at least 4 or 5 songs. I'm like, we could use these. These are songs I've been writing over the last few years. And we were doing some stuff, but it didn't really pan out. Like 2010 was the last time we kind of did a few more shows in December, and we just kind of let it go. again, it wasn't like we're breaking up or we're pissed off at each other. It was just like, you know what, this is cool. We did it, but it's not like not everyone was on the same page wanting to move forward.
Yeah.
So that was cool. We let it go. But then 2013 is where I think that was the real catalyst to get this version of the band up and running. And it's been, I mean, we're in 2018. It's kind of crazy that I think this is the longest the band's been together. When you really think about it, 2013, you know,
I was going through my notes and like, because I mean, I don't need notes to talk to you because I'm a geek when it comes to your band. But
Thanks.
I was going through like timelines and stuff, and I was writing it down. I was like, man, this might be longer than any time they were ever together back in the day.
It is, and it's crazy because it's like we accomplished a lot in short spurts of time back in the day, and this I think it's taken us a lot longer to get an album going. Like, okay, so obviously we came out with a new album in June of 2017 called "Thank You for Being a Friend," and I mean, think about it. The last album we did was 19 years prior.
Yeah, that's insane.
So yeah, that's crazy. And being older and stuff, it took us a lot longer to kind of write. Even though I had a bunch of songs and a lot of riffs written, we still kind of wanted to work out some songs all together. I mean, there's a song that like our new bass player Nat wrote pretty much from the beginning to the end, at least a lot of the riffs. And then another one that John Carroll wrote, again, the basic riffs and the basic drum beat wrote all the way through. So it was cool to come together and work on a lot of these songs together as a band instead of me just, throwing out, oh, here are songs that are already done, which I had about 4 or 5 of them that were like, hey, these are done. Just come up with vocal lines and lyrics and we're good to go. But the other ones, it was cool working together as a band after all these years and realizing, hey, we still got something here. It's actually better than ever because we've grown musically and, with our knowledge of music and everything, it's been really good.
And the recording process, you guys did it at your studio, right? At the bomb shelter?
Yeah, we did it at my studio, and how it was a little different from back in the day. Well, obviously back in the day, we went to Sonic Iguana in Lafayette and we spent, 5 weeks there all in a row. Maybe we might have done like 4 weeks and gone home for a little bit, then come back a week for mixing or something like that. Well, this having the studio obviously right here in Chicago, where we're all from, I just made time. I made time around their schedules because everyone's working. So first, came in with John, had click tracks laid out. I had done scratch guitar tracks ahead of time so he could follow. And I forgot we spent maybe 3 days on the drums and really beating him up to make sure, again, he's an awesome player, but making sure that every part was exactly what we wanted. Like making sure that the drums were locking in with the guitar picking and the thoughts of what the bass were gonna, the bass was planned to be. So that was that, and then me and Nat would just go back and forth when he had time. He'd come in, lay down some bass tracks. When I was by myself, I'd lay down guitar tracks. A lot easier in the digital age. Just going and recording a few takes and then kind of splicing it together for wherever I played best. And then Dennis, so my biggest fear was Dennis because we had done demos at our practice spot before. And it was weird because I was listening to Dennis's voice and it was like, it sounded good, but he just didn't, it's like he wasn't pushing himself. I was like, man, I hope the album doesn't sound like this. He just feels like, he's not there. So we planned it where we did 2 weekends. We did a Saturday and Sunday. We did 3 songs on Saturday, 3 songs on Sunday, waited for the next weekend, sang another 3 songs on the Saturday, and then the last 3 on Sunday. And when Dennis came in, he was so focused and he brought it. Like, I mean, you could hear it on the record how good he sounded. And it was cool to see that transition of, okay, he's not messing around. This isn't just something where he's just doing it because we're talking about it. He is as wholeheartedly into this as we are. And
well, I gotta say the production on the record is, I mean, I've always really liked your work, but it's the best thing I've ever heard come out of the bomb shelter.
Well,
it is
thanks.
immaculate. It is great, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. And I spent time on it, but not nearly 5 weeks. You know what I mean? So it's cool to be able to do that. Things are faster in the studio working with digital, obviously, and splicing and whatnot. And obviously I've been doing it for so damn long now, 18, 19 years where I'm quick too. So that helped the whole process. But the fact that everyone came in and just killed it on their parts was the other awesome thing. Like I didn't have to worry about punching in a million times because people sucked. People came in, they did what they had to do, and it sounded great.
So it wasn't like a chronic chaos session.
Oh, it's not like most of my sessions, but you know what? We all beat each other up during the rehearsals where it's like, okay, this is good, but this could be better, and let's not mess this up. Let's really pay attention to every little detail, and we did, and I think it came out great. We're all super,
I just
super
want you
proud
to
of it.
know that like you made me a better guitar player because I mean I know I was making a joke about my band recording with you, but when I was doing guitar tracks, you were like a drill sergeant on those parts, man, and
Yeah.
it made me look at what I was doing differently, and I thank you once again for that
Well,
because I'm a better
you're welcome.
guitarist.
You're welcome. And that comes from Mass teaching me that because I didn't know. It's like you think you know what you're playing, and then someone points out those little intricacies that you're like, I never even heard that.
Yeah.
I never heard that I was hitting extra strings or that my timing was just that little bit off. But now that I hear it, now I know what to strive for. And I hear that a lot from, again, me going into Mass's studio. I became a better guitarist because of Mass. And I hear the people coming out of my studio, same thing. They're like, holy cow, I'm a better, whether it be a guitar player or drummer or bassist or singer, they're all like, we've learned something. We know something better about ourselves and where we can improve. So that's always an awesome thing, how it's just that kind of that relationship that just keeps rolling along from musician to band, and it keeps going. I love that.
It definitely helped me out, but it just made everything that I play that much more precise, which I guess is where you get your name, Mr. Precision, from. Okay, so I want to hear about the new album. Then it came out on Bird Attack Records. It's called "Thank You for Being a Friend." I think that's a nod to the Golden Girls, correct?
It very much is, yeah. It's funny that John, actually, our drummer John Carroll, came up with that. We were on tour, and we were kind of trying to think of good titles for the record. And I forgot if we had started using that Golden Girls intro music as our intro music for the live show. I don't think we had yet, but he basically came up with that, and we're like, dude, that's awesome, because obviously we love the Golden Girls. That's the joke thing. But beyond that, it really has meaning to all our fans who waited for so long and still stuck around to hear our new tunes, and weren't like, oh, these guys are has-beens or whatever. So it really fit. It was cool.
Well, I love the record, man. You guys have been doing some touring recently to promote the record. I know you
Yeah.
did some things in Europe. I know that the thing that I wanted to speak with you about was your trip to Hawaii, which is when we had the big like nuclear bomb scare.
Oh God, yeah.
Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we did 3 shows. We did one show in Fullerton, California, to kind of get us close to Hawaii. And then we flew and we did 2 shows in Hawaii, one in Honolulu and one on the island of Kauai. And awesome shows. I mean, it was small because obviously those are small islands. But so we had played Honolulu the one night, and the next morning we wake up and we're kind of getting ready to, we got to go catch another flight to get to the other island in a few hours. And all of a sudden, I get this text that says, nuclear, but I forgot the exact wording, but the missile strike headed for Hawaii or and they're like, this is not a drill, this is for real. And I'm like, what? So it was kind of surreal. And I remember, waking some of the guys up, and actually I think they were awake, but just being like, dude, did you guys get this on your phone? And I think only 2 of the other guys, like Nat never got it on his phone. He's like, what the hell? But I'm like, I don't know what to think of this, but we gotta do something. So I don't know. I was in the mindset where if a bomb's really coming and it's coming to like Honolulu, like we're gonna be dead no matter where we go.
Yeah.
So because some people are like, okay, well let's go under buildings and whatever. And I was like, well, 2 things. If we're in a building and the building collapses, probably gonna be dead too. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to the beach. We were literally like a block and a half off the beach. I'm like, I'm walking to the beach. If it's gonna happen, we're probably gonna get fried, whatever. So I ended up calling my girlfriend, and she was like kind of getting freaked out on the phone. And I actually couldn't believe how calm I was. I was just like, well, this is, this could be it. I don't know, but it was weird. I think it just didn't hit me full force. But yeah, John and I walked to the beach. I think Dennis and Nat just stayed behind. Like, I think they went outside of the building, but there's some high rises there, so I wanted to get far away from the buildings. And we went out there, and after, I don't know, about 20 minutes, we're like, okay, what's going on? And all of a sudden, people started walking back, and then there started being news of like, oh, they think this was, a mistake or whatever they were saying at that time. So, but yeah, it was quite a surreal situation.
I remember like, I mean, because I follow you guys on, I mean, we're all friends on Facebook and everything.
Yeah.
And I got like the landed in Hawaii and all this, like these nice, like status updates and from you and Dennis. And then all of a sudden, like I see somebody post something from one of my other friends, like there's going to be a nuclear bomb in Hawaii. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my favorite band is going to get killed in Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah. It was weird. It's definitely weird.
So, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. This has been a lot of fun. I like to keep these around, 30 or 40 minutes because I don't want people to get, like these guys talk forever.
Yeah, I know. And I'm pretty long-winded. So yeah.
So am I normally. So you and I could talk forever. I've got all kinds of questions, but
yep. We can do a part 2 at another time.
I'd love to do a part 2, but what I'd really like to know about right here at the ending is the future for the band. If this record's like a one-off or if it's going to continue and what can we expect, man?
Okay, so no, there's going to be a continuation. Like I've already got songs rolling around in my head and a few riffs that have been recorded. And obviously we've been touring quite a lot. And because we're older and jobs and whatnot, it's harder to like just crank stuff out like we used to in our 20s. But we're going to be working on a new album for sure. When it comes out, what label it'll be on, I have no idea. That's so like I think the new way we're looking at things is let's not force ourselves to do stuff because that's what we did in the past. I think that's what led to higher stress levels and us ultimately breaking up. So right now we're like, we really enjoy this. Why should we make this like another job? Why don't we make it's fun? Let's do it on our own time. When we could start getting it together, we will. So we're going to be starting to write new material, I'd say pretty soon. I mean, definitely we're going to start writing this year. So hopefully maybe a 2019 release,
Sounds great to me, man.
Yeah, sounds great to me as well.
and let me just let you know that if anything ever changes and you're like, you know what, we need these guitars to be thicker, you can call me up and I would gladly be the rhythm guitarist.
Fifth member. Thank you.
I live in Indiana again, so I'm super close, man.
Yeah, that's really close.
So Dan, I just want to say you're a great guy, great musician.
Thanks, Chris.
You've really changed my life for the better, and I really appreciate you for everything you've done with 88, with Rise Against. You're a stand-up guy, and I'm really glad you're my buddy, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. I'm glad I could be part of this and everything else. It's been great. So thank you.
Well, part 2, I'm going to hold you to that because I can't wait to talk to you again.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, and we could talk outside too, outside of podcast. So
cool. So I tell you what, man, everybody should check out the Bomb Shelter, correct? Your studio? Yeah,
bombshelterchicago.com or on Facebook.
Where can they get the new 88 record at?
Bandcamp, either through the 88 Fingers Louie Bandcamp or the Bird Attack Bandcamp. Actually, we're going to be putting vinyl up because the vinyl all sold out on Bird Attack, but on the 88 Bandcamp within pretty soon. What is this? We're in April. I'm saying before May, I think we should have vinyl available. There's only a bit left, but there's some that we're going to just put up there,
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm gonna play a couple 88 songs, one of my favorites, and I'm gonna ask you, is there a certain song off the new record you just think everyone should hear that I could play?
I don't know. I like quite a lot of them. You know what? One of my favorites is Turned to Gray.
Turned to Gray.
Like that song. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna play that, and I'm gonna play my favorite. And Dan, thank you once again, man. It's been great, and I can't wait to talk to you again, buddy.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.
See you later, man.
Bye-bye.
And there it was, my conversation with Mr. Precision, Dan Wleklinski of 88 Fingers Louie and Rise Against. Dan and I go pretty far back, like I said in the intro, about 19 years to be exact. But Dan's such a great guy. I love speaking with Dan. I'm really glad that, he's a good buddy of mine. Not only a good buddy of mine, but he was also in one of my favorite bands of all time. So thank you once again for listening to this. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. This thing is growing actually more than I thought it would pretty quickly. So please keep sharing, letting people know about the podcast is the best thing that you can do to help us out. Throw us a like on any of the social media platforms. It's TOTOT podcast on all of the social media platforms. I'm not going to have a podcast up next week, I'm pretty sure. My son Silas is turning 2, and we are driving to Alabama to see my in-laws to celebrate his birthday. So I've just got way too much going on to try to get one of these out. It is actually a lot of work, even though it might not sound like it is. It is a lot of work. So we will return probably in May with the next episode, episode 5. And I've got a couple guests lined up, and I'm not sure which one will be next. So I'm not going to really let you know. You're just going to have to keep checking to find out who's coming up next. But it will be worth your time. I guarantee it. So thank you so much once again for being a part of this thing. Thanks for letting me into your life on your commute to work or just sitting around your house. Whenever you listen to this, I really appreciate it. But I'm going to leave you with 2 songs this week. Turn to Gray by 88 Fingers Louie, which is on their new record, Thank You for Being a Friend, out now on Bird Attack Records. Please pick that up. You can go to their Bandcamp, iTunes. You can get it pretty much anywhere. You can also get it at good record stores if they still exist where you live. The second song I'm going to be playing for you is a Rise Against song off of their debut album, The Unraveling, which came out on Fat Records. It's called Ever Changing. So first up, we've got Turn to Gray from 88 Fingers Louie, which just came out a few months ago. And then you've got Ever Changing by Rise Against that came out, I believe, 2001, 2002 on Fat Records. So here you go. I hope you enjoy it. Please keep coming back. These podcasts are great. I appreciate you guys so much. So here we go. Enjoy 88 Fingers Louie and Rise Against.
said